Hello, Altered People. I am Runefolk, member of Team IKZ. You might have heard me here on YouTube already for some AWOL tournament casts, or over on Twitch for some AKZ and NUC tournament casting, but today I'm doing something a little bit different, my first video release. I'm of course still talking about tournaments, how could I not, right? But this tournament now I do care a bit more about, because well, for its second season I'm joining its tournament organization. And it is the NUC. For anyone who hasn't heard about it already, it is the No Unique Championship. It is hosted every Wednesday on BJ, so go check it out if you are interested. As the name already suggests, you're not allowed to play any of your uniques in this tournament. This changes up the altered meta significantly, since a lot of competitive strategies are highly focused around your uniques. So this generally is a lower power level format, which can be very enjoyable. But what's even better about this is the barrier of entry. You don't need to spend tons of money on your uniques and can still have the best deck in the game. As I mentioned before, the NUC is going into its second season with the release of Whispers from the Maze. So far, the NUC was hosted solely by Melton from Team AGT, but unfortunately, due to time issues, he couldn't continue the series on his own. So I'm very glad to step in and help out to provide the players a second season. I would say this format has been very successful so far, gathering around 50 to 100 players each week over 12 weeks of play, resulting in the final event that was played out yesterday for me. And this tournament might already spoil you a bit about the upcoming Whispers from the Maze meta, since, surprisingly for a final, it was already played with the new cards from Whispers of the Maze. And today I want to recap the tournament for you a bit and also talk about the NUC in general. So first up, what is the NUC meta? To answer this question, we are looking at the tournament results for all 12 weeks of play, including over 2000 games. So let's take a look at the hero popularity first. First up, most played, we have Kojo, followed by Tasia, Sigisma and Fen, all having play rate of over 10%. Next up, between 5 and 10%, we have Aphanos, Basira, Sierra and Traced. And as the bottom 8 heroes, all underneath 5%, there are Akasha, Navenka, Lindaway, Gulrang, Aurak, Rin, Atsadi, Arjun, and at last, Varu with a play rate of 0.4%. But play rates in general don't mean too much, so who actually had the highest win rate? Well, that would also be Kojo, with a staggering win rate of 62% in total. We can take a quick look at one of the early winning Kojo lists from AGT's Ricky Locky. This deck mostly playing a low curve game with a bit of sabotage, and most importantly, the Haven Bravos Bastion, to boost up everything coming from the reserve. A seemingly very strong game plan. Next up and second, one of the unique format monsters in Aphanos, who got a 58% win rate. For this we can take a look at the first NUC winner, Altered Aces Tempesta Lanesh. This deck having a strong, draw-heavy game plan with a lot of spells and low-cost characters. Not the strongest in the early game, but have you ever tried to play against Aphanos with 10 cards in hand on turn 5? Well, that just feels doomed. The other unique formats monster in Sigisma comes in third, having a 57% win rate, played by many, but I am taking a quick look at another Altered Aces member in Citro. Pure aggression in the characters, very efficient disruption and removal, and the mid-game nightmare in the Grand Endeavor. Fall behind too far without a significant card advantage, and the game is just over for you. A bit of a surprise, the fourth highest win rate is Lindaway, with barely 50%. This time we take a look at the winning list from Kaiseki from week 8. A classic sacrifice strategy using permanents to sacrifice the low-cost characters, and a bunch of draw sprinkled in. The danger of this list, you never know where to contest, and what you should remove. Rounding out the top 5, we have Navenka, on 49% win rate. Navenka unfortunately not being able to top out the tournament this series, but I am sure we can see a change in this for season 2. But with Gamma Knight we still take a look at one of the most consistent Navenka players. A list that makes my analysis struggle the most, not playing around too much of the dice roll, more focusing on even stats or high spiking characters to make the most use of winter outfits. To me, looking like a fair deck list, but you never know what Navenka is going to gift you. Having that out of the way, we can take a look at the season finale. Also of course, played on BGA we had 30 participants. To be able to play in this event, players had to qualify in one of the 12 previous weeks. All players going undefeated through one of the NUC weeks got an automatic invite. 16 more players could qualify by gathering points through their placements over the 12 weeks. The tournament was streamed live on Twitch, so you could go over to one of my teammates' freeloader to rewatch the entire VOD. As mentioned in the introduction, the knowledge players gathered throughout the series didn't matter too much, since you were allowed to play all of the new cards. I haven't seen anyone complain too much about it, but since the scene is still mostly French, I didn't really get to see that side of it too much. But for the hero distribution, we had 13 Kojos, 5 Vents, 3 Linderays, 2 Sigismars, 2 Afanas, 2 Basiras, 1 Nevenka, 1 Tasia, and also 1 Akesha. The tournament was played over 6 rounds of splits with no top cut. To preemptively prove all the haters wrong, tournament organizers do know how to play. Me and Melton both managed to qualify for the season finale through points. Also, another great tournament organizer for the AQZ Championship Series, Pandiani, was also playing in this event, but importantly, he hasn't qualified through points or going undefeated, but through another way to qualify. The 4 teams with the most points in Season 1 got to invite another member, and for us on AQZ, Pandiani was the only one that was free. Meltdown managed to get 15th in the end by playing Kojo and Buddha, and got 3 wins, 3 losses. Pandy got 19th with Fen and Krober, getting only 2 wins but 4 losses. But for my own tournament run, I'm going into a little bit more detail. At first, I wanted to prepare for the NUC finals, but ultimately ended up building the deck like 5 hours before the tournament start and only played 2 test games. Seeing the success of Kojo and Bravos in general in Season 1, I decided to play Bravos as well. But didn't go for the popular pick in Kojo, but I decided to go for Basira and Kaisermon instead. My list trying to play an aggressive game with multiple very strong opening lines and Akloots in the mid game to attack the opponent's resources and get easy expedition trades. I ran a few new cards that looked very solid to me, including the Grams, expecting a lot of low cost permanents played by other Bravos players, Pendoka, a cool new card to sabotage in Bravos, Duel of Grid, my new common removal spell of choice, and finally the Mess as card advantage, synergizing well with the Bravos Haven Bastion. Starting off round 1, I was paired against SBTFU's Lahar for my first Kojo matchup. I fell behind in the early game to set up my permanents and not being able to contest a Buddha token. But with some decent sabotage and exhaust tools, I found a resource lead, running my opponent out of cards. Them only drawing spells and low cost permanents sealed the game for me to win the game. Round 2, I was up against Altered Aces Citro. As we've seen in the hero introduction, Citro already went undefeated with Sigisma in one of the weeks, and kept the Sigisma reign in this game. Starting the game off better than before, getting down the Haven on turn 1 without losing 2 expeditions felt great. But playing against a bunch of cards I wasn't used to, I ran into a bunch of issues trying to contest the Tumult. Ultimately, I couldn't come back on the Tumult with making some decision mistakes, and losing on the final day to a license removal, discarding my poor Akloot, giving me my first setback in the tournament, but still unshaken to continue. Looking at the round 3 pairing, I wasn't much more confident. Seeing Tempesta Lanesh's Afanas is always scary. I got an early lead as trade for draw, but going up with low resources into Afanas usually feels very scary. Tempet played the early game very resource efficient, running me out of cards just to get the expeditions. On almost no cards, seeing the second Conjuring Seal being played out, I knew the game was over and was waiting for its inevitable end. Going into the final day, Tempet got to flex his card advantage, absolutely destroying me, giving me the second loss of the tournament. Now knowing I couldn't take the tournament win anymore, I could play much more relaxed. Round 4, I faced Ensriake, the only other Basira player of the tournament. I started off with the best Bravos opener, Serengat plus Dainjin, just to see the answer of my opponent with double Tiny Jin. With a Haven set up by my opponent on turn 2, I got the first solid lead in the game, by not only getting the expedition lead, but also showing the Grams to answer the Haven. One Akloot play later, my Grams were gone, but so was my opponent's hand. With my opponent too low on cards and me finding a second Akloot, one more trade to double exhaust was enough to win the game. In round 5, I faced off another Afanas in afteruse Ambrosa. This time, the game opened better, getting another early Akloot to find an advantage and making my opponent spend a lot of resources on the second Akloot play to double exhaust the reserve. One well-timed Duel of Grid got me another advantage, showing why that card is such a strong upgrade over the prior played Intimidate. One Akloot plus Conjuring Seal trade later, I was 1 game point away and my opponent couldn't deal with the slapped Mighty Jin on the Hero Expedition. Going 3-2 into the final 6th round, I was hoping for one more win. my opponent Goblin92350, another Kojo player. Once again, a fantastic opener, but into Kojo first player, it means you are still going down on the tumult. And once again, the star of the show, the beautiful Orca Wolf, managed to give me the edge to get back on the tumult. This game, I got to use the Grums for the first time. Unfortunately, my opponent wasn't playing any permanents to remove, but I could sacrifice my own Haven to get enough stats to block one expedition and progress on the other. By some unfortunate draws of my opponent, they didn't get the stats to efficiently contest on the final day, so I won with the last final double advance, to end the tournament on a 4-2 record and getting 8th place in total. I of course would have loved to win one more game, but playing against the best of Season 1, I'm still very happy about this result. Finishing up my run, let's talk about who actually competed for the first place in this tournament. Going into the final round, RGT's Elriri on Fen and Krober was the only undefeated player, so winning this game, he would be the guaranteed winner of the NUC final event. But there were 4 more players with a single loss hoping for first in case Elriri lost the finals. Still in contention for first place were AQZ's Frenikariku on Kojo and Buddha, Afteruse Victor Marder on Kojo and Buddha, Malrod Run also on Kojo and Buddha, and Nazaru on Lindway and more. On the final table, up against Elriri, was Frenikariku. But before we take a look at the game, let's take a look at the decklists of these players and see what new cards they have been playing. For Elriri, the classic Fencor of set 2 has stayed. Play a bunch of magical loops to build up the reserve and play huge Anansis. To support this archetype, there are a few new cards like Tablek Unit and Lyra Contortionist, giving you additional reserve slots during night. Requiem has replaced the previously used Off You Go to also have a cheap removal for permanents. The one of Sap Duende looks very cool, potentially taking a lot of boosts from huge mage dancers or any Basira character. Seemingly, this list can even compete in the unique format, since Elriri has been crushing it on the ladder just to practice for this. For Frenikariku, we see way less of the new cards. The Kojo list has a bunch of 1 costs and effectively 2 cost 3/3s from hand to be as well studded as possible. A few spells as removal, while surprisingly Frenikariku did not prioritize the Duel of Grid over the Intimidate, and a bunch of permanents to finish up the deck. The only new cards in this list are the Grums to deal with other Kojo players and the Mess to get additional resupplies, especially together with the Haven Bravos Bastion. In general, a list that has proven to be very strong during Season 1. The final match starts off very good for Frenikariku, getting a double advance while not being on the Buddha token. After a turn of trading expeditions, Elriri neutralizes the tumult by feigning a sneaky double advance using the winter outfits. Turn 4, Frenico offers an expedition trade while setting up 2 permanents, but Elriri takes this opportunity to get the first lead himself, getting out an alloy plus removing one of Frenico's characters. On a very resource-intense turn, Frenico finds a double advance, putting him on game point with barely any cards left. In a clutch turn, Elriri finds a Twinkle Twinkle plus Mechpeng Hoarder from hand, blocking both expeditions for Frenico, leaving him with no resources at all. On the final day, Elriri is able to close out the game against the resource-starved Kojo, making him go undefeated in the NUC finals. So, with the final being done, let's take a look at the standings at the end. So, huge congrats to Elriri being champion of the NUC for Season 1. Coming in at second, the only player with 5 wins, we have Afteruse Victor Marder on Kojo and Buddha. For the 4-2 finishes, we have AQZ's Frenikariku, who got third with Kojo and Buddha. SP's Quetz got fourth on Akasha and Taru. Altered Ace's Sidru got fifth on Sigismund Wingspan. Zaruk got sixth on Lindway and more. Altered Ace's Tampeta Lanesh got 7th on Aphanas and Senka, and I got 8th with Basira and Kaisermon. Despite there being 13 Kojos going into this tournament, only 2 of them made it into the top 8. 4 of them made it into the top 10. With no other hero having 2 top 8 appearances other than Kojo. But also congrats to all the players who participated. It was a very cool event and it was very cool to see them all play. Also, huge shout out to the stream over on Twitch from Freeloader and Kilon Guy. If you want, go check out the VOD. But as I said in the beginning, with Season 1, there's a Season 2. And the Discord server for the tournament announcements have changed. So to everyone that is interested, come join the AKZ community server. It is currently our tournament hub where we announce all of our AKZ regarding tournaments. And going into the next season, we will have 3 different series for you. So plenty of Alter to be played. A short teaser, you can play the AQZ Blitz, a speed format with only 15 minutes of game time, the NUC, and the AQZ Championship, the classic competitive format for Altered. But thanks to everyone for watching, and leave a like. And if you are interested, join our Discord to play in all of the tournaments. So till next time, see you and bye bye.